Hey everybody, welcome to Bestie Book Reviews. I'm here with my bestie Mandy, and we are here with us, oh my gosh, author Liz Hambleton. We're so excited to have you with us. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Okay, Mandy.
All right. Well, we're just going to jump right in. So for viewers who are not familiar with your work, what type of books do you write? What type of tropes, that sort of thing?
Well, I write what's categorized as sci-fi romance, but so many readers think that that's usually aliens. But it's not. The way I can describe it best is dystopian and post-apocalyptic romance. So futuristic settings, futuristic worlds, alternative history in the future, and focused on romance, which is like a really long way to say I'm in sci-fi.
Yeah.
No aliens. There's no
aliens.
I'm
no.
Sorry.
No. But I do like that in your books, your heroines are not 19 or 18.
They're not.
They're older. And I really appreciate that. I really like that.
Mm-hmm. I have all adult.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of readers have said that my books are if, Hunger Games, Ready Player One, stuff like that grew up, like those teenagers grew up and you got the heavier romance side because it was hinted on those dystopian books. But they do have to grow up. I'm pretty sure if I was 19 in an apocalypse, I'd die immediately.
Oh,
so
yeah, that's where I'd be rushing home to with my parents because I know my dad could survive it. So I have to get to dad so that I could survive it if I even make the first wave. Some of your books have paranormal in it. Do all of them have a paranormal aspect?
They do not all have a paranormal aspect, but they all have something that's not possible. And so magical realism in books a lot of times is where you think of someone having an other humanly aspect, like they could start fires, they could read minds, they could fly, or things like that. That's usually how magical realism is categorized. And of course, I can't be in any box or be simple. We don't all have that much of a straightforward, direct element. It's not always going to be like, this is someone and she has this special power. It could be a world that is different because the world has changed and people's genetic makeup has changed. Or it could just be a future that is inherently different. There's not necessarily a sense of magic, but everything is different in how the world has evolved. So you never know if you're going to get a little touch of magic and paranormal in there. It's not in every single book, but there's an alternate future in pretty much every single book.
Yeah.
So I just started Keep in Touch.
Oh God, not that.
And I just started looking and I'm like, I don't think it has any of that. I'm
trying to
scan.
That is really.
Wait, what is Keep in Touch? Did I miss one?
That was my first novella. That was, I was like, oh, I'm going to see if I can write a book. And that one does not. Yeah, you caught me on that one. That was just my first novella that I published. And it's so funny because it's like some people's favorites. I'm like, that is not what I write at all. It's out there. Some people love it because they probably like more contemporary stuff. But when I wrote that, I had a very difficult time, and I didn't have a team at that time. I had a very difficult time, like not making it sci-fi. And I think I was trying to fit in a mold that wasn't me. I do love the book, and I think the characters are cute, and I think it's a fun, quick read, and it's definitely got a good romance and storyline in it, with some twists. But I really wanted to like add some sci-fi element in it, and I couldn't figure out how. And then after that one, I started writing the Storm series. I didn't publish the Storm series next. It took me a really long time, but then, the 8 other books after that have been a totally different genre.
Okay, I saw it on your list and I was like, oh, I want to read this. It's like pen pals, that they've been pen pals forever. And I just started it and she just got to where she wrote, I just finished her letter of where she's writing to him and asking him to secure housing for them. And I'm like, wait, so I was trying to, like, you're talking, I was trying to look on Goodreads. I'm like, what did I miss? Where's the paranormal?
There's nothing in that one you caught like that. And I've thought before, oh, should I unpublish it? Should I? But there are some people who really love it, and I probably need to add to my content warning, right? Like, this is not going to be like anything.
Yeah. Because for me, when I think of your books, I just thought about like the Discovery series, the Storm trilogy, and then
Fate and Flame.
Thank you, Fate and Flame. I had to turn around and look because they're just right behind me. I didn't even realize there was another one. So
there's Affluence as well. Okay. That's a standalone, but that is set in the future, and it's it does have that element where it's a alternate kind of world. It's not as so. I had Keep in Touch, and Affluence kind of snuck in there with not really any like magical sci-fi type element, but I think there's a lot of authors who they know what they want to do and how they want to write and where they fit. And I didn't, it took me a minute. It took a really good team of people as well to help me figure it out. And it's, me. So I don't have a desire to like write under different pen names for things that may be a bit different, because it's me. I'm Liz. It's, these are my books, and I'm not going to take that one down yet because some people love it, but it's just not in the same fold, right? And everything that I'm writing in the future isn't in that, because I'm just not a contemporary romance writer. It was so hard to write that one.
I'm glad you're not. I love dystopian and post-apocalyptic, so I like devour them. I love it. So,
yeah, it's a niche, but
it is.
People
it is.
like it. Yeah.
That was one. It wasn't our first one, but we do our Convincing My Bestie series, where we convince each other to read in tropes that they don't typically choose. And Dystopian or Post-Apocalyptic, I think. It was one of our first. It wasn't our first, but it was one of our first because we were together for it when we did it in Seattle. And that's when I was finishing reading the first book. I hadn't even got to the second and the third yet. And I was like, Mandy, you have to read this. And we threw it in there and did it. And then we were both reading it at the same time. So that was a lot of fun. So
it's so many of my reviews too, which I find I try not to read reviews because they can make me crazy. But if somebody like tags me in a review that they cross post on socials, it'll always say, this is not my typical read, or I didn't think I would like this. And Valentine's Day, I got so many tags because men bought it for their wives or girlfriends.
Yeah.
Because I do have male readers, and I think I like the sci-fi genre seems to be more male focused. So they're like, my wife or girlfriend will like this, and they buy it. And they were like, I didn't think I'd like this, but I loved it. Yeah. And I was like, I'll take it. It's cool.
I loved it. Sam's got like a special place in my heart. I love that man so much. Yeah.
Good until, forever.
I think that sometimes people think like, I know when I hear sci-fi, I think like Star Trek and that sort of thing. And so I'm like, I don't really want to read something like that. So I think the sci-fi just really comes with this like stigma almost of what it's going to be like. And it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
All those like sub-genres that fit in where you've got, post-apocalyptic, dystopian, all those things that fit in. It's really difficult to describe to someone, because when someone says, oh, I write, beach romance reads, everyone expects that typical, type of book. It's kind of like, I was talking to a friend how Ali Hazelwood wrote Bride after very like more contemporary type, like beach read books. And so many people were like, what is this? And it's because you expect, a certain type of book to be romance. And that audience was so broad. Like if you went to an airport, you could easily pick up an Ali Hazelwood book and you would expect this type of romance. And so people don't really know about all the subgenres. So when you look at someone who is like, I'm a romance reader, I love to read, and they may read a ton of books, and you say, I write, post-apocalyptic romance. They're like, what? That's a thing? Yeah. Like, because they're used to kind of the straight and narrow
mainstream. Yeah. I think like with Mandy and I, we read so many books that if we just kept it in that wheelhouse, I don't know that we'd run out, but we'd get bored. I would get bored. I personally would get bored right away. I need others. I need more. I need different. But I love like post-apocalyptic and dystopian. Like that's one that I absolutely love. So yeah.
So do you have a favorite book you've written or a favorite character?
The Third Storm is probably my favorite book that I've written so far. I do love them all. That one took so long just to get it perfect. It's definitely shows because it's my most popular. I wouldn't say that I have a favorite character. I think the idea of the characters in my books, Emery, Elena, Rowan, very independent, strong women that are figuring things out without necessarily the help of a man is kind of the theme of the character that I really love to write. I love The Third Storm so much, maybe because it took me so long, but because the first chapter of that first book is my favorite chapter that I've ever written. And I wrote it 900 times, like over and over and over again. I probably could recite it like the Gettysburg Address when I was like in third grade. You have to memorize it. But I really loved it so much, and it really set the tone for the whole series, just who she is. And that ending line of, get me the rope, let me pull him up. Captain America's just was like this whole idea of who that character was, but it's not just Rowan. Like, I feel like all my female characters have that like in their heart.
Yeah.
Maybe because they're a little older.
They're strong and they're not dependent on a man, but they're not so strong that they're jaded to the man when he comes along. And I like that. Like, they're strong, but they're not obnoxiously strong where you're like, how is this even going to work out?
Yeah. There's a realistic element that comes when you're older in a romance, especially. And I really just like The Third Storm in that, where she kind of knew not to spoil anyone who hasn't read it, but she knew the sacrifices she was going to have to make and the things that she was going to have to do to keep everybody safe.
Yeah.
And that wasn't going to be a picture perfect love story for someone that she was falling in love with. And he was going to have to get over that too. And I think that all of that just really makes it one of my favorites. But I'm writing stuff now too, so you never know, it could change.
Yeah, never know. I think out of all the ones that I've read, I think that's still my favorite. It's always going to be my favorite. I love their situation and the fact that it's a close proximity romance too. They can't get away from each other, at least in the first book, for the most part. They can't get away from each other.
I do have a forced proximity thing that comes in. I never go in to write a book and say, okay, these are the tropes I'm going to hit. I probably would be a millionaire if I went with a more, but then I could never write anything. It would drive me crazy, but I always end up in a forced proximity kind of way. Maybe that's a thing that I like in the books. I don't know. They're stuck.
Yeah, because Fate and Flame has that too. So yeah,
yeah, I do. I'm like, maybe I do that.
That's a thing.
Well, if somebody is new and they're wanting to read your books, where would you recommend that they start?
Do they want to be up all night, or do they want to cry a lot? Or do they want what do they want to feel? I typically will ask if they like things that are more action or more contemporary. And if it's more contemporary that they've liked, if they're dipping their toe into my books, I say to do Twisted Fate and Twin Flame, because that's probably the most like sci-fi contemporary book you're going to get. An alternate futuristic world. And that one's truly dystopian. Like, the heart of it is a dystopian story. If somebody wanted a page turner and wanted to be up till 4 a.m., I would say the Storm series. I like that. So I don't like it when it's hard to like keep turning pages. Like, if I can set a book down, I want to be enthralled in it. I want to be up all night. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. And that you're for sure. That is one that you just cannot stop. And when I was reading it, we were in Seattle at it was our very first, but it was our first big author signing. And I had to keep putting it down to go do the things. But I was like, when are we going to get back to the room? I really want to read. Yeah.
When you think about it, and it's like, it enthralls you. But it is a really like intense book. So some people have told me like it was a lot. Like I had to take a break because you're kind of pacing and like when you're reading it, which I didn't intend to do, but it happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that made the book too. You just need to know what's happening next and how it's going to get better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it definitely takes you, like, I didn't really know much about what the book was about. Jessica was just very excited about it and kept telling me I had to read it. And it takes you in a, at least for me, it went in a different direction than what I was anticipating. I was kind of just thinking, oh, this is just them trying to survive. And like, oh no, there's way more going on.
Mm-hmm.
A lot going on, a lot of family stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that book has so much, and that series has so much. I even towards the end told my editor, I'm like, there's too much going on. Like, I am like, I'm going to make readers' heads spin. And she's like, no, because it's all captured really beautifully. And it's touched upon in a way where everyone's following. And especially when people read through, when they read through a series very quickly and like want to get through it, you really want to know, well, what happened to her sister? Well, what is the AOE? Like they wanted to figure that out and they were constantly thinking about it until they got those answers. And every book being in a different location, I really wanted that from the beginning. And I liked that because it kept things newer. Like it wasn't like, oh, we're still trying to survive on this boat.
Right.
But it was still the same game. Like we have got to make it in this new terrible place.
And I was really invested in like Luke and Lori as well, like the side characters. You did a really good job with that too. Because normally I'm like, every once in a while you'll find a side character that you're like, oh, I wonder what their story is. But we get parts of their story and we see them along the way. And I was totally rooting for them the whole time. I loved Luke.
Everybody loves Luke. He's like,
exactly. He's crazy, but love him. So
yeah,
a little bit of a golden retriever energy going on there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Lori is her best friend. So smart, so strong, so intelligent, and just really kind of like, I just want a golden retriever in Luke. I don't need, he's great. He'll do whatever you tell him to do.
Exactly.
Really.
Exactly.
But that's who he was, and he was lovable for it. So that's why book 2 was so heart-wrenching too.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Luke.
Because of Luke. I know when Luke and Rowan meet for the first time, that is one of the best parts of the book. In the first book, that was so awesome.
Because he's just, that's who he is. He's very direct.
Yeah.
He's very like, hey.
So if that one doesn't make it, I loved it.
We're probably all gonna die. So he's just he's a simple man.
Yes. Yeah. With simple needs. So yeah.
Can you share what you are currently working on or any upcoming projects that you have?
Yeah, so actually I was writing this morning. So one thing that I've really thought about is doing more rapid releasing, because I know the energy of waiting for the next book in a series is difficult for readers, especially because you don't know like what could happen in between. There's nothing worse than having like a book out and then the author has a life event or something where they really have to take a few years. And then those readers are like, what happened? Yeah. So I've been working on a 3-book series, which is a post-apocalyptic romantic comedy.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's different because typically I'm so serious, and there's of course serious elements in the apocalypse.
Of course.
But the working, title for book 1 right now is called Caitlin Can't Die. And it's really based on the whole premise of, yes, she survived the apocalypse, but who would really want to? It's terrible. It's awful. And so, she goes through this book and, it's going to be interconnected standalones about women who are like, I guess I'm here. Like
now what?
Great. Now I've got a really big mess to clean up. But with her, it's really just this whole premise of she's older. She's like late 20s, early 30s. She really has just had kind of like her job and, you know, some Tinder dates. The apocalypse happens while she's on a date with some guy, and she's just with him for several months, which is where the book starts, because, you know, they survived. So now and he's an idiot. But the first chapter of it, I kind of love because it kind of touches everything that you think about when you are watching a show about an apocalypse or reading a book. She's just like trying to get through a grocery store to find some tampons. And it's, you know, he's like, I don't want to do that, like being a weird guy about it. And that whole dynamic of this sucks. Like, why am I having to deal with this? It makes it so much harder. This 3-book series actually has an element of a creature that has taken over the world in the form of a virus. So it is not necessarily it's not a, you know, a earth event, like a natural disaster, which is what's, you know, happened, like natural changes in the earth that have been in my other books. This one is, I wouldn't even say viral. I'm not going to say too much of it, but it takes over the population, the majority of the population.
Okay.
And so they're trying to find a place where they will be safe, where she will be safe. I could talk forever about it because I really think this series is really going to be funny and cute, but also a page turner. And the whole idea of found family and the romance in it.
Of course.
Of course. But yeah, that's what's coming out next. I also have another series that's going to be after that. I won't even like bore you with all of that, but
wouldn't be bored. Do you have release dates or just an idea of when you'd release?
I'm hoping that it's going to be back to back the beginning of next year at the latest.
Okay.
I had hoped that it would definitely be sooner than that. I'm always like, I want to get them out sooner, but I want them to be right.
Yeah.
And once things go to beta readers, I usually find out that I have more changes than I had anticipated. When I had one of my books go to beta readers before, I had someone die that readers were not happy about at all. And that really taught me that I have to be really way out there on my release dates, because I had to delete and rewrite like a third of the book.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I'll tell you later who it was, but it wasn't good. And they were like, he can't die. We love him. And I was like, oh my God. And everyone said it. And so now I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to be like really careful about release dates, because it took me like an extra like 2 months to fix. I just remember being at a coffee shop and just hitting delete on chapters, and my daughter was with me and she's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm not okay.
Oh no. No.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, because I've been doing beta reading for Pam Godwin for her new trilogy, and I haven't brought things up like that. There have been little things, but wow, I couldn't imagine.
Well, and I think I have really great beta readers that I've always been really honest. Like, please tell me, please be honest. I don't need a yes man. I don't need someone to give me like unconscious, but like, I don't want you to just tell me it's great. Like, be honest with me.
No.
So I've gotten some that are like they are mean in a good way. Like, so
that's what you need, right? Sometimes
it's made them so much better. But yeah, beginning of next year.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be, which I can say, Caitlin Can't Die will definitely be one. But they're all going to have that symmetry in the title, you know?
Yep.
So it's going to be a really cute, funny, but also, you know, it's the apocalypse. There's seriousness in there too. But when you talk about the banter between main characters, like that witty love-hate banter, it is strong.
Okay. I'm looking forward to that for sure. You've just had audio come out for the Third Storm that was all this earlier this year, and then Fate and Flame just came out recently. Do you have any other audios that are coming out?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I think that when I do my next series, I'm going to do my best to have audio release at the same time. Audio is really hard to do without a publisher. So I did, Podium has been wonderful to work with, and they've done so many books with great authors. So I'm really lucky that they have done that, and they've done an amazing job.
They did a great job.
Oh,
yeah, they were so good.
I'm hopeful I can have them for future releases, but I don't have any plans on the previous ones. But you never know.
Okay. All right. Never know.
So how do you come up with your ideas?
I am insane, I think, a little bit. I don't know. It's weird. I think sometimes too, because the world is in such a chaotic place, that I get a little like scared sometimes when I think of these things. Like, what if they really like happen? You know, like, ooh, what if it was like real? But what typically happens, which sounds crazy and will prove to you that I'm crazy, I try to go on a stupid little walk for my stupid mental health every day. And I try to walk for like an hour at least, and I'll have headphones on and I'll listen to the same music I always listen to. And I will just picture a story in my mind. And it could be the one that I'm currently writing, or it could be something that's coming in the future. Because usually I'll know, like with the ones I'm writing right now, I know how they end. I know it. I just have to get it all on paper. So right now I'm thinking about the Green series, which would be the ones after this one. And I see the characters, I see their house, I see where they go, I see how they hunt, they live, the ships that they're on, and it kind of becomes a movie in my chaotic brain. And I think that's why a lot of readers say that reading my books is like a movie in your mind, because it was in here. And then when that movie kind of comes together, I get it on paper. So usually I see the whole film in here, beginning to end, and then I start writing it out. So it's a while before it goes from here to here. I don't know how they get in there. I have no idea how they get in there. It's just like when I went to Ireland last year, and I knew when I went to Ireland, I was like, we're getting a series out of this. I can tell you right now. So sometimes just like the visuals of trips or the world or things that happen, they just come to me. And you know, I went fishing with my kids, and we were at Lake Cumberland, which is a huge lake that if the dam burst, it would flood Nashville, which is 200 miles away. And we were visiting, and I was like, that's going in a book. Like, I was like, that's what happened in an apocalypse. So all these things start forming in there, and then they just come out on paper.
Yeah, that's like what they talk about. Which mountain is it? Old Faithful. Isn't it somewhere in Yellowstone? They talk about if that were to erupt. Yellowstone. What would happen if that were to erupt, and how it would like devastate. We hear about Mount Rainier here in Washington. If Mount Rainier erupts, how much damage it's going to do to the state and around, like, and the surrounding outside of it. Those are the things that I think about, and I'm like, I don't want to think about those. So
apparently I do.
Or I look up and I'm like, where are we on the map, and would we survive that?
I'm like, where are we on the map, and how many people would it kill, and what would it do? Like, I'm sure I'm on some list, because I'm asking the visitor center. So if this explodes, you know,
and they're like, why is she asking me these questions? I know. I had the kids were really little, and we were at a park one day, and the town that we live in is very small, but I'm literally on the border of Canada and Washington. We are the last stop on the coast. And I was talking with a friend of mine. Her husband used to work for NASA. And she was telling me how one of the reasons why they chose to move here is because where we are in Little Pocket, if there's a tsunami, the islands, the San Juan Islands get hit before us. So it slows down a tsunami. So we don't get that. We're not directly on the fault line. We kind of go inland a little bit. So as far as earthquakes, we're in a safe spot for earthquake. And then she started like rattling off these things that I didn't even think about worrying about, and how we were so safe in our little bubble where we're at. And I was like, I'm never going to leave. I will. Never leave. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No.
You lucked out there. She should be a writer.
She should be. She should be. I have to stop thinking for a minute. I have a friend who is a writer that writes that kind of stuff too, but not her, not the same one. Mandy, however, is a little close to the Mount Rainier blast, so we're gonna have to talk about that.
Well, I should be okay here.
Okay. See, these are the things we look at.
Mm-hmm. And my books make you think about it more. I'm sorry.
A little bit. It just means that we're prepared.
There you go.
I live out in the country, so if anything goes awry, we'll just have to live here. I'd much rather be out in the country though than in a city.
No.
I didn't go super dark in the Storm series. I mentioned like what would happen in like the big cities, like how
crazy
feral it would probably get, but I didn't want to go that dark.
No. No. You want to think about it, but not be scared to death.
Yeah, that's a horror genre. That's a different genre. We don't want to go into that.
Yeah.
No.
So what do you like to do in your free time?
Well, other than scare yourself.
Other than scare myself, I have actually been attempting to explore my own city a lot more with my kids and my family. There was a time where you're working full time and writing books. It took so much of my time and so much out of me. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful hobby to have. But at this point, I don't feel the need to release a ton of books in a year. I can release 1 to 2 a year and feel like I've really gotten the stories that are in my head out there. So I'm trying to explore my city. With this economy, right? Don't we all want to like do things that are more close to home? There's so many fun, free things to do. So I've been looking at the calendar and I try to follow creators on Instagram that are around and are like, did you know you could do this? This is free. That's free. So that's been this year. We've done a lot of stuff. Like I said, we went fishing on Friday. I caught very large fish with the help of other people. I really just came up when they said it was ready and did the reel.
You reeled it in, yeah.
But, like, you caught the biggest fish. I'm like, I walked forward in the boat and then did this. That's all I contributed. We've gone peach picking. We're visiting local museums that have free days. Just things like that is what I've been really wanting to focus on. I'm the type of person that's always had this like goal. I have to succeed. Like I can't say, oh, I would like to run in my free time because I would try to win the marathon. Like calm down. Not everything has to be a job. And that's this year what my focus has been. Like write books and do that as something that you enjoy as a hobby, but also in your free time, let it be free. And I'm really trying to do that and not make everything a job. It's so hard.
Yeah. We can relate. I think, and Mandy and I've talked about this. I don't remember being competitive when we were in high school. I think Mandy says I was, but I don't remember that. I don't think either one of us were really that competitive. But as we've gotten older, we've become competitive. And it's more with ourselves, like with myself than anything else. Like I am a complete carrot chaser. Like if you dangle that out there, I'm going to get it. But I want to be at the top when I get it. And I don't know where that comes from.
I don't either. And that's why hobbies and free time have been so difficult for me. Because like I said, if I was like, oh, I'm going to run, I'd be like, well, I want to get first in this. I want to do this. If I wanted to, learn how to do yoga, I'd be like, I could get certified and teach classes. Can't I just do yoga? Like, I don't know why I make everything a job.
Yeah.
So changing it up every weekend in my city has really helped me to be like, okay, we went to a museum. It doesn't mean I have to be an artist. Set it down. You enjoyed it, walk away. And I highly recommend it. There's so many great influencers out there that have so many recommendations for just free things you can do with friends and kids and family that I didn't even know existed. Yeah. So I'm taking full advantage of that this year and especially this summer because children in summer is great. But you know.
But children in summer, they're home.
Yes, they are. All day.
And then when they're back in school, Mandy has to deal with them.
I'm a teacher.
Oh, bless you.
She doesn't get paid enough, trust me.
Oh my God, no, you don't. And that's another thing too, is when my kids like get prepped for school and they're like, if you could get me this and this for the classroom, I'm like, I will buy you anything that you want. I will throw gift cards, cash. What do you want? You want me to pay anything? Because the fact that you are with my children like all day and teaching them things, I could never do that. I could never do that. It's like, bless you.
Exactly. And I think you've said before too, Mandy, that sometimes a lot of that comes out of your pocket, right?
Yeah, as I've gotten older, I've gotten better about not just spending my own money, but yes, it does.
Yeah, teachers don't get paid enough, that's for sure.
Absolutely not.
Yep. I know my kids, their teachers didn't get paid enough. Especially my youngest one.
So who are some of your favorite authors or favorite books you've read?
Oh gosh. You know, this is going to sound crazy. I remember favorite series and books that I've read, and my favorite, and I know this is going to come off with a lot of judgment, but it was True Escapism, and I loved it. I loved the series. I read every single Ice Planet Barbarian book in a sequence, like nonstop. Like when I was done with my day, I was reading an Ice Planet Barbarian book for months. For months. And I wouldn't say that author was particularly, my favorite author.
Yes.
I just got enthralled in it. And I still think about it to this day, like, man, I wish I could go back.
She just had a new release this week, a new book in the series.
Is it Ruby Dixon?
Yeah. Have you read the spinoffs, the Ice Clones and the?
I have not.
And the Ice Home?
I tried some of the dragon ones, I think, and she's got an excellent cadence in her writing and a very good, comforting sequence of events. So every time you read, you just feel calm and kind of know what's going to happen. It's satisfying. And I think that it was such a chaotic time in my life when I picked those up that it was so wonderful for me to just be like, man, when you two get together, it's going to be so good.
Yes. Yeah. We talk about them all the time because they're my comfort reads. I've read every single one in Ice Planet Barbarians, Ice Home, which is the spinoff on the planet. And then the newest one is Ice Clone. So the third book in that one just came out this week. So I plan to read it this week. But I love them. Are they somewhat predictable?
Mandy's like, oh my God.
She doesn't do alien romance at all, but they also have that post-apocalyptic feel to them because they're stranded on an ice planet. So I think that's another reason why I love them. But they're just. And
then their home gets blown. I mean, they have to go to the other home.
They had to find a new home. It's just that good. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but she's captured some magic there. And
she is mortified.
She's dying. Have you read the first two? Is that what you've read, Mandy?
I think so.
They were both me forcing her to read them.
Thank you for getting out of your comfort zone, Mandy.
Exactly. I love me some Ice Planet Barbarian.
I that's probably one series that just really was escapism and I loved. I read a ton of, different books and authors and things like that. But when I have time, I do a ton of audio books just because, driving or whatever. I don't read a lot of my own genre. Not that there is a ton of my genre, but there are some. There's some more reverse harem more than anything, which I don't I haven't done. I have a polyamorous, but I don't read that because I don't want to get influenced and not realize it. I think T.L. Swan talked about that on something that I listened to of hers or read of hers or an interview. And it really stuck with me to be really careful as an author of reading what you write. because you can be influenced and not even realize it. And I think there's so much talk of plagiarism, copying ideas, things like that. You just really want to like,
Exactly.
So
exactly.
That's why I'm reading about blue aliens, Mandy.
Because they're not going to show up in your books.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Safe zone.
Very safe. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Come on, Mandy, read some more of them. You know you want to.
Oh my gosh.
I read every single one. Even the Christmas one.
She's got several Christmas ones. There's lots of little novellas in there. And I reread them while I'm wrapping presents at Christmas time. And I think it's because it's the snow and the cold and, it just makes me feel. But they're my comfort reads. If I get into a slump, I pick up an Ice Planet Barbarian that I've probably read 30 times.
Mandy's like, why are we friends?
She doesn't even question it anymore. She's just like, all right. Yeah. She laughs. But yeah.
Just go along with it.
There's a reader for every book. That's what it is.
It's true.
Yes.
Yeah. They're popular for a reason, but she'll have to get herself in check. Maybe someday we'll be able to get Ruby Dixon to do an interview and she can't laugh through the whole thing.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And I've read her dragon ones too. Not all of them, probably first 3 or 4, but I prefer my big blue aliens, I think.
Yeah. Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. Well, will we see you at any author signings?
I'm going to be at Getting Witchy in Boston in September.
Okay.
Next year, I'm going to do Chattanooga. And I think I'm also doing one in Ohio next year.
Wait.
Is that Beyond the Readers?
I believe it is.
Yay!
Really?
Is it? I don't want to speak out of turn, but it was at this hotel that's like haunted or something.
Well, they didn't tell us that.
Rage in Ohio.
Oh, that's different.
2026. Okay. What's the one in Ohio that was 2026?
Beyond the Read is in June.
Oh no, I'm not doing that one. I'm not doing that one.
You should contact them and see if they want you though. We're gonna be there.
That's okay.
Well, I try to do at least one a year. And then, all friends will go, we'll have a girls trip on top of it. But this year I know I'm doing Getting Witchy in Salem. And then I think Chattanooga is the next one. 2026, I'm going to Scotland. So that will be a fun one. But you never know what's going to pop up. I try to put them on my socials. I do know that it's important to go. I appreciate people that come to see me more than I could ever express into words. It's weird to be an author and be like, I don't know how to tell you like how much this means,
Yeah.
So I do try to go, and I try to go to a new place every time. So you never know where I'm going to pop up.
The one in Scotland, is that going to be rare? Edinburgh?
It's going to be in where the airport is. It's in Glasgow, I think. No.
So I know that they do Rare does an event like every other year in Scotland.
This is a new one.
Okay.
This is a new one. And I was like, you know what? I can do that. And then the family can go to Scotland. It's in Glasgow. Yeah. Authors Invade Scotland and Glasgow.
Ooh.
So, why not? And then, go to Scotland. Because I loved Ireland so much. I'm like, well,
Ireland and Scotland are bucket list for me.
Oh, you should go. Come to Scotland.
I know, we'd like to, I think 2026 is when one of our close author friends is expecting us to show up in Australia. So we'll see what happens. But it is on the list that we would like to end up there at some point.
Yeah, I'm gonna update. I'll be sure to update my socials because they're updated with like the next 2. And since I had one a month or so ago, I need to like update it for the next one, which would be Chattanooga.
Okay.
Which will be fun. But I'll always have new ones coming out. I do like meeting readers. It's a fun time. I've always had good energy at them. I know sometimes there's drama about them, but maybe I'm just oblivious in my bubble. I don't know.
Yeah. We love them when we go. Like we go to several a year. We have 2 this month actually that we'll be at, and we love to go and do them.
Yeah, they're fun.
They're a lot of fun. They're a lot of fun. Mm-hmm.
They're good.
They're good. Yeah. This is where Mandy goes, you're oversharing again. Stop telling them that we don't know these people. Stop it. Because I tend to overshare quite a bit.
Yeah, it can be a problem sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then there was that time we met Teddy Hambleton, so she was a little worried about what I was going to do then, too. So, yeah. But he knew who we were, so I was like, what? Oh, okay. We'll see him this month, too.
Well,
scared Mandy, scared.
Yeah, really watch for a news report.
It's always kind of strange at a signing too, because sometimes these authors, voice actors, different people, different readers, things like that, and you know them, but then you meet them and you're like, oh, you're you. Like, and it's this like awkward kind of, do we hug? Like, what do we do? I always hug. I'm a hugger. Yeah. But also I get so many people who the last signing I was at, there was like, I've seen you on TikTok. I'm like, yeah. This is me. It's me. Yeah. It wasn't a filter.
That's the thing. When we've done several of these events, I've had like Mandy and I both where we're sitting, they normally have like a dinner or something the night before so the VIP can meet some of the authors. And we're like, I don't know who's who because nobody looks like they do in their Instagram picture at these events, you know, or they've got their hair in a ponytail. It makes them look different. And so you're just, I don't know. We talk about it too at Love in Vegas, and we sat down and we were talking with these two girls who had, they had English accents from the UK. And all of a sudden one of them was like, we asked who they were and they introduced themselves. And then she's like, oh, but my pen name is BJ Alpha. And I'm like, dude, I've read almost all your books. Like, oh, okay. So, because they just, you know, the pictures and the face, it's just different.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's just me on my TikTok with no makeup. So I guess that's why they recognize me, because I never, and anytime I go viral, it's because I look like crap. That's the key.
That's the key. Yeah.
If you ever want to go viral on a social media, don't try at all to look decent. Not at all. Just
get on as a hot mess and
don't put a bra on. Don't put makeup on. Just show up. Fly. And that's the video every time.
Yeah. Yep.
Solid advice.
That's I can see how that would be a thing.
Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Well, just trying to think of what it would be. I do have the omnibus for the Storm series coming out. It's going to be here next week. So I'm so excited about that, baby. I actually have my one little.
Yeah, let's see this. Oh,
she's so pretty.
So pretty.
I know. Look at her. I'm just real thrilled with the way this whole thing is coming out.
Nice. So will that be in your TikTok shop? Where is that going to be?
I'm going to put it in my TikTok shop. Right now the pre-orders have just been on my website.
Okay.
I have, TikTok shop is wonderful when it's wonderful. And sometimes it's a little more difficult to manage. The people on there are wonderful. But if there's a glitch, there's a glitch. So it's, working through that. But I do think I'm going to have it on the TikTok shop because people have asked for it on the TikTok shop. The other thing is that the turnaround time is so fast on that. And I think a lot of people are like, why don't you have your books on TikTok shop for certain authors? Because you have to ship it like the next day. Yeah. So when people say things sell out really quick, or when I have stuff sell out, it's because I really just put on there what I could handle. I'm going to have it on there, I think. So that's the next big exciting thing. It's my first hardback. It's my first foil cover special edition.
It is
so pretty. And, Sam's all over this thing.
Yeah.
Luke's all over this thing. And it has the bonus scene in there. And so, everybody gets the full experience. And look how pretty she is.
Oh, my goodness. Oh. Okay, I need that. I need to make room on my shelf for that.
Yeah, I just have a lot of love for these characters in these books. It always just surprises me how people will read a book on Kindle, and then they'll buy a paperback from my website, and then they'll, you know, be like, oh, I got the audio and listen to it. I'm like, it's the third time you've read this book, girlfriend. But it, you know, comfort reads.
Yes.
And I'm honored to have people read it in different formats. It's wonderful. So
when they're favorites, I tend to have them in all the formats I can get them.
I think I do too.
Yeah.
I just never thought that I would be an author that people would have that as well. I never thought I'd be anywhere close to where I am today. It's wild.
Yeah.
But it's been just a great ride as well. So I'm happy for it. Yay.
Yeah. Yay.
So what is the best way for readers to connect with you?
I'm on all my socials under Liz Hambleton author. So it's the same tag there. I know my name is spelled a little odd. It's the British way or whatever, but all my socials are under there. I routinely try to look at filtered out messages. You can tell if it's, you know, a real person or not. And I always reply. It may not be as fast as it can, you know, be, but I always try to reply and get with people. That's social media is usually easy. I do have a website where anybody can email me at any time, and I've gotten some emails over time that are just so sweet. I actually printed one that a reader had sent to me about how much she loved my books. It was Fate and Flame. And I printed it and I put it in a frame. And when I feel bad, I look at it.
I love that.
Yeah. And she doesn't know. I say that because I think sometimes readers are like, oh, I don't want to reach out to this author. They don't care. We care.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big deal. I mean, I remember, you know, reaching out to some authors that I really loved. I had read like T.L. Swan's books a lot and stuff like that, and had talked to her, and, you know, she had responded and was like, just so you know, this isn't a PA, this is me, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it, you know, it means a lot. So I think people think, oh, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to take their time. Bother us. It makes a difference, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Mandy and I can vouch for that too, because we've reached out to a lot of authors after starting to do this, and everybody is always so wonderful, and they're appreciative of the fact that you're reading their books. So
the authors behaving badly thing might be the loudest, but it's not the majority. I don't think.
No.
You just have some that really take over the room. It feels like, and then that's like all you hear. But I've never had a bad experience with an author, especially not an indie author. They've always been really receptive to readers, people that love their work, other authors willing to help them. So you shouldn't get a negative experience. I mean, yeah,
you shouldn't. No.
Especially not for me. I'll probably like print out your stuff and put it on my calendar.
I love it. That's so cute. I love that. The little pick-me-ups. Yes. All right. Okay, Mandy. Is that a wrap?
That is a wrap. That's all our questions.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you again to Liz for being here.
Thank you.
And spending the time with us. Of course.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next video.